que hubiera muchos tiburones, pues no iba a entrar la gente, se iba a asustar.
Si hubiera muchos tiburones, siento que se perdió un poco el atractivo porque sería como que los bañantes ya no se pueden meter con esa seguridad con la que se meten ahora. Se perdió un poquito el atractivo de las playas, que es casi el principal de aquí de La Paz.
Pues sería malo. Dice que sería malo para el turista de La Paz.
Yo creo que sería positivo porque existe mucho interés por nadar con estos animales y pues traería mucho turismo a La Paz.
So Sharks of the Sea of Cortés was, I feel, a really educational piece where it really did bring you to the region and it broke it down and got to interview so many people who live there, specialists in the area, everything, just so you get a really broad image of what's happening and how it's affecting the region. I thought it was just really educational in the sense of making sure that you understood the snowball effect of what's happening. With less sharks, it's not even just damaging for the ecosystem, but for their economy as well. And I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily ever touch on that. They always just talk about the animals itself and the dangers of them becoming extinct, but it doesn't show the branching of how it affects everything else. So that's why this was just done so well in being able to provide that information so you get the bigger picture of how it really is the butterfly effect where one thing happens and then it just ends up dominoing to so many other different areas of the region. So overall, really great job.
Yeah, what a wonderfully informative documentary that was. So sad their situation with the sharks in the Bay of California, but I thought the essay was very well put together. Great, great video shots, great images included in that film. They really laid out the argument in a solid way and really exposed us to, I guess, is something that we wouldn't have known about. So quite educational, which a documentary should be doing. And yeah, hopefully it raises awareness for this problem and they can get the sharks and wildlife back into that bay. It's really important that they're making that argument for the economic reasons for preserving this wildlife instead of hunting them and selling them off, because you only get money once for doing that, but if you keep them alive and bring people in through tourism, it becomes a lot more sustainable. So a solid argument, I think, was well laid out, and yeah, just a very well crafted documentary.
Sharks of the Sea of Cortés, that definitely felt like a very cautionary tale, as it gives a warning of the dangers of essentially selling off a product without realizing the value it has in the world. For this case, overfishing caused ramifications that are still being felt today, as a lot of these places are hardly sustaining as much life as they once did, and it's caused quite a hit in tourism. So while they made money from fishing, they lost money from tourism, and it caused a pretty violent downward spiral. And I think that's a very interesting take, in the sense that sometimes money can be made through different means without harming the environment.
I really enjoyed this short film because it was so educational. I had no idea how bad things had gotten in the 90s when they allowed shark fishing down in Mexico at La Plaza, and how devastating it was for the economy there. It just makes more sense to conserve our ocean life and our wildlife and do things like dive tours, take people on, shark diving tours where they can see them and just observe. It's better for everybody. It's better for the economy. It's better for our ocean life. Being a diver myself, I've enjoyed going down and diving along coral reefs and seeing sharks within their habitat, and it's been great. So I enjoyed listening to everybody's interviews and how everyone was rallying together, wanting to put a limit on the kind of shark fishing, to have that stop, to let nature go ahead and replenish the oceans. I thought was really, really, really well done.
This documentary does an exemplary job at showing how one thing does affect the other, how a community can be impacted by nature changing, and how we ourselves are causing that change and are negatively impacted by our own behavior in a way. The cycles here are very clearly shown, and I think it helps bring us towards a larger discussion on how we can prevent these communities from collapsing and from losing these sharks.
What an incredible documentary. I learned so much about sea life and sharks in the Gulf of California and all of these diving centers, that these epicenters of shark and ray life that has been wiped out by commercial fishing. It's heartbreaking to watch. I'm so happy you made this. I didn't even know that this was an issue. I didn't know that this was going on. I learned so much. In particular, the things that stood out for me was the rate of pregnancy, how many sharks are born in a year as opposed to other fish life, other sea life, that it's much lower rate, and most of them don't survive. So by doing the commercial fishing, you're essentially wiping out the possibility of sharks creating more life. And then just the effect on the reef based on the pyramid of, who's doing what jobs. And when you wipe out one species doing one job, how it just is a domino effect and ends up killing reefs. And then just how it's possible to repopulate in 3 or 4 years if they just stop this commercial fishing thing and just allow the sea to heal, that these animals will come back. And I just found it fascinating and beautiful and hopeful too at the end, that they had some hammerhead sharks in a couple of those locations in La Paz. I really love this. Congratulations. It's fantastic. It really is beautifully done, beautifully shot. The stories are exceedingly well done, the through line, and so educational. Just learned so much. Thank you.
Sharks of the Sea of Cortés was really interesting. I don't know a lot about the topic, so relying on this documentary solely, I feel like I learned a lot of information. I think that's the sign of a really good documentary, not only presenting all this information, but presenting them from credible sources close to the project being shown. But also it was a nice tribute to the individual who was kind of leading the charge. His name escapes me now, but there was the dedication to him at the beginning. You can tell that this meant a lot to a lot of different people, the preservation of the sharks, but also the ocean and the wildlife in that area as well. So it was overall really informative, and just overall a very well done documentary.